Welcome to the worst of the best podcast. You wanted the best. Well, they didn't freaking make it. So here's what you get.
Welcome, everyone, to another episode of the Worst of the Best podcast. I'm your host, Ryan, and with me today I have a very special guest co-host, Mr. Trucker Andy. How you doing?
Hey, thanks so much for having me on, Ryan.
Oh, well, thank you for agreeing to come on. I want to, let's first plug your podcast that you do on your own, because this will go into what I have to say right after. So what is the podcast that you run with your brother?
Yes, thank you. I do the All Apologies podcast. Basically, we find the celebrity apology tours or YouTube streamer apology tours, and we'll drill down on their shenanigans and their apologies and why they're ridiculous and make fun of that. So we just did Anthony Cumia, but we did Tom Cruise and
Tom Cruise, he apologizes to no man. Only Xenu will he apologize to.
Yeah, he pretty much got away with everything based on the Mission Impossible franchise, but we just try and focus on those big name celebrities, everybody that has to cater to their fan base.
Well, sure. I mean, I'm not condoning any kind of bad actions that celebrities have done, but I totally, as you guys do and have said, I totally understand why you would have to apologize for some of your bad behavior. It's your business, it's your livelihood. You have to have some sort of hey, I effed up, I'm sorry. Right. Please come to my movie because this is my paycheck. Something you do on your podcast, which I really quite enjoy, is you guys will read people's apologies, what they leave on Instagram. It doesn't have to necessarily be something they are apologizing to you for, but it's an apology that they just want to release to the world, and they use your platform to apologize for things, which I think is great. Mm-hmm. And I would like to start off this podcast apologizing to you for three things. You ready?
Okay, yeah.
Okay, here we go. First off, I would like to apologize that it took me so long to listen to your show.
Okay. Same. Right. We have that in common.
But unlike you, Trucker Andy, I've listened to your show. So every good apology, you have to have action, or else your apology is nil and void.
Yeah.
Okay. So I expect you to repent of your sins on that one.
Fair enough.
Of course, people who are listening to this episode are seeing that the podcast episode is about Clutch, the band, and the album Blast Tyrant. So I want to apologize to you and to any Clutch fans listening to this podcast. I want to apologize that it hasn't been until July of 2024 that I listened to a Clutch song. Okay, so I want to apologize. I'm coming, Johnny come lately to Clutch, but we're going to talk more about that, of course, when we get to the show. And lastly, Andy, I want to apologize to you for coming on such a small, dinky podcast, such as my podcast. But thank you. So those are my three apologies to you.
Well, that's great, and I don't knock you for not finding Clutch. That's kind of one of the better things about the band. It's one of those bands that everybody doesn't want their favorite thing to be discovered and then ruined by a bunch of people, right? This is a kind of thing that never really hit critical mass popularity, and it remains precious to a lot of people because it's niche in that way. But as far as the level of our podcast, I mean, I'm people only know me because of a way better podcast than mine and ours.
Let's talk about it.
All Apologies is by no means a huge show. I encourage everybody to check it out, but
it's a great show. I want to say right now, let me help you plug your show. It's a great show. It's a great concept. I'm jealous that you thought of it, and I think that's a good sign of a good podcast. Just the same way I'm jealous of Carl, because you both have come up with a great idea. So we'll talk about yours first. Long story short, you run that All Apologies podcast. Great idea. Celebrities apologizing. I love watching them squirm. You guys really do a great job breaking down what they did wrong and how their apology went. And you guys give your verdict at the end. It's kind of like this show in the way we talk about a subject, we talk about how we feel about it, and then we give our verdict at the end. So it's kind of similar that way. So I really like how you guys give your verdict at the end. You have a great, of course, rapport with your brother, which I do this show with my brother. Same idea. So I think that's really cool that we both share that as well. That's awesome. So I really like that. And yes, you come from the Who Are These podcast universe. That is a great show. The reason why I started listening to that show, because I started listening when Kevin was a co-host. So I've been listening way back then. And how I got onto their radar, their show came onto my radar was I was on a Facebook group for independent podcasters, and there was some scuttlebutt. People were saying, "Oh, you got to be careful. You don't play, copyrighted music on your podcast. You're gonna get shut down by the powers that be." And I'm like, "Oh boy, that can't be good." Because on this podcast, I've almost done 200 episodes, and a good handful of them have been music episodes where I play a good portion of music on the show. But of course, I found out later that yes, indeed, it's fair use because I don't play the whole song. I'm also talking. It's transformative because I'm giving my opinion, my talking points about the song. And so, anyways, somebody in the comment section on Facebook said, "Oh, there's a podcast that does this too. Who are these podcasts where they clip other shows even and talk about those shows?" So that's actually how I got word of them. So I was like, I'm going to check these guys out. And then I got hooked right away. Listened to episode 1, got hooked right away. And you are part of that universe. So why don't you just tell the people who maybe don't know how you're involved in Carl's podcast universe?
Well, that's interesting that you mentioned Kevin, because I went to high school with Kevin and Carl. That's how I know those guys. I was a day one listener to that show as well, but even before I was on it, because of our personal relationship together. It's really the only reason I'm on it at all, is because we're old friends. I wasn't a professional broadcaster. I'm not a comedian. I'm Carl's friend, and we were in bands together, and we talk music, and we make jokes, and we have a comfort level, and that's why I'm on the show.
That helps.
Yeah, but I have like a weird like Muppet voice, and maybe some of my takes are maybe not the most researched and thought out.
Stop. Who cares? You do a great job. You're just fine. I appreciate your humor. Yeah, not every joke lands. You think everything I say on a podcast lands? Half the stuff I say gets edited out. I don't want to expose myself how terrible I am. So that being said, Carl, he came on the show a couple years ago. Thanks, Carl, again for that. And he did a Star Wars episode. Check it out in the feed if you would like to. If you came over from the WATP universe, check out Carl's appearance on my show where we discuss Star Wars. And I think I've got a soft commit from Lucy Typebox to come on the show, so I'm looking forward to that.
Well, Lucy's she's blowing up, so I'll look forward to checking out the Lucy episode.
She's fantastic, and I was really flattered. I sent her a Twitter message on Twitter, and it stood in her inbox for like a month. I thought, she's very important. She's not going to look at messages of people that she doesn't follow. I totally understand. And she got back to me. She actually apologized. "Oh, sorry, it took me so long." I'm like, "No, don't. This is fantastic." Thank you, Lucy, for getting back to me, and I look forward to having you on the show. In WATP, there's a Discord, a very busy Discord. And a couple of years ago, Andy, somebody nominated this podcast to be reviewed by Carl because they thought I was shite.
That's ridiculous.
it's hilarious. It's funny. So I actually commented, "Oh, hey, that's my show. Thanks for the nomination." But actually, funny enough, Carl came on the show, but it doesn't mean But here's the thing about my podcast: it's probably not that great, but it's not that. I listen to the show, like I listen to what you guys critique. My it's too boring to critique. Like I'm not a perfect podcast, I admit, but I'm not like Vern or Frenchie or like these people.
Exactly.
I'm too white bread for that. But anyways, I appreciate his nomination. He really came after me though. I don't know what it was. It felt very personal. He really wanted my show raked over the coals. So I hope he's listening to this episode. That'd be great. Okay. Yeah. We got in touch with each other because you followed me, this podcast, on Instagram, which I was very flattered by. I was like, "Hey, crap, I listened to you." And so I messaged you saying thank you for the follow. And that was really kind of you. Invited you on the show. You agreed. So I said, "Hey, let's do a music episode. What's a band you want to cover?" You said Clutch. I thought you were joking. I'm like, "Who's Clutch?" And they're like, "Okay, Clutch, cool. What album is your personal favorite, or you think is their best, or whatever it is, because this is the worst of the best?" So you picked Blast Tyrant. So that's how we ended up here. Why Blast Tyrant? Why Clutch?
That's great. And you mentioned Kevin at the top of the show. And I wouldn't know about Clutch if it wasn't for the original WATP co-host, Kevin, who has an older brother that was also in the music scene locally. And we all kind of know each other from being musicians. So a lot of people look to older brothers to sort of guide them on what their musical tastes are going to be. I don't have an older brother. I have a twin brother. But so I was informed by Kevin's older brother a lot, especially when it comes to Iron Maiden. Nice. And NoFX was more of Carl's influence, though. But as a bass, I play bass, and Steve Harris from Iron Maiden is my favorite bass player. But
he's no slouch. He's no slouch.
Yeah, yeah. So when it comes to what I play and what I want to hear and what I write and what I like, Clutch is probably one of the most informative bands for my style of playing, for what I like to listen to. And it falls into that realm of stoner rock. If they go back to 91, I didn't really discover them until the second album. And
that's fairly recent in their career. I mean, like early in their career, though.
Yeah, and this is when we were all like younger kids and getting off the ground as musicians personally. So like when I'm talking about this being an informative band, it goes back that far. But over the years, they're still putting out albums. I think as of 2022, I think they have like 11 albums
and performing live still. Like
they're still crushing it. So as you look back on their catalog, this album, which is kind of right in the middle, is probably the sweet spot, because they evolved into maybe like something a little bit more different, a lot of more keyboard centric type of stuff, which is not where they started, but
interesting.
I don't know. So that's kind of like where I hold them, personally as a band before we get to the album.
I'd like to think I'm a hard rock guy, like through and through. At the end of the day, I mean, from Aerosmith. I was born in '75, so I was raised in the '80s. From hair metal, and I know they're the big bands, popular bands. I get from Skid Row, Guns N' Roses, Motley Crue, Aerosmith, AC/DC. But that was my jam. Like all these big Americana bands but I like other non-rock, like hard rock bands like REM, Bruce Springsteen. Like I have a wide range of music, and I like to think I'm pretty knowledgeable about bands, even ones I don't listen to. But here's the thing: like, I actually don't listen to. I got to be careful here because people are gonna they always get so mad at you when you don't know something. Okay, have you ever? Actually, I want to say this. You actually on your Patreon, you guys do some reaction to music, correct? You do some reaction videos, you and your brother.
Yeah, we've been doing a thing where you find some ridiculous music video content back before they really knew to make things cinematic and have a narrative. And people were just throwing shit at the wall, and we cover those ridiculous videos.
Well, me and my best friend, we actually have a reaction channel, which I never ever I don't think I've ever brought up on this podcast before. It's actually very successful. It's like the one thing.
What's it called? I want to check it out.
Well, we almost have 30,000 subs, but I never talk about it but the reason why I never talk about it is because I actually react to things that are the opposite of hard rock. We've done like One Direction, Harry Styles, Beyonce. So it's all the stuff that that's what you have to react to, things you don't know, things you aren't familiar with. So we have a lot of fun doing the polar opposite of the music I listen to on my own. So that's kind of just me and my best friend. We're both almost 40. Well, we're both almost 49-year-old guys, white guys, listening to Beyonce, which is a big draw on the channel. So it's a lot of fun. I say all this because even some of the artists that we react to on that channel, like for example, Beyonce. Of course, I've heard of Beyonce. I've never heard any of her songs before. That's why we're doing the journey with Beyonce right now. It's pretty big on our channel, but I've heard of her. But Clutch is what I'm getting at. 30 years in the business, I've never heard of their name. This is what I'm getting at. So there's a lot of bands out there that I've even heard of NoFX. I've heard of the Misfits. I don't know any of their songs. Misfits a couple because Metallica's covered them. I don't listen to it, but only because Metallica's covered them. But I don't know any NoFX songs, right? Yeah. Tell me, how is it in the world that someone who's been listening to rock and roll for 40 odd years has never even heard of the band?
Yeah. And that goes back to what I was saying, why they're even more beloved by people that are the biggest fans of theirs, is that they never really hit that oversaturated level. And people like that. It's like you feel like you have a little more ownership of it because you get to tell people about it and turn them on to it. I'm going to be interested to learn at the end of the episode your actual opinion of the band. I don't think a lot of people would say that this is their favorite album, but the other albums have fantastic songs and arguably better songs. And
well, that's exciting.
But we're not talking about those. So I would think that I would hope that when we get to the end of this conversation that your takeaway would be to go find more of their music, because there is a lot more to talk about. But when you ask me what my opinion is about what their best album is, this one kind of has the best front to back, like loaded tracks that are maybe the most bangers for your buck. But some of the other albums have better bangers. So
I'm sure we're gonna have people again. I'm gonna post this up. I know it's people on Reddit again. People on Reddit hate it when you plug anything of your own, but I've done it a couple of times when I've done a band, because like whatever, I don't care. Maybe one person will come over and listen. So if we have one person from Reddit listening, thanks for watching, thanks for listening. I'm gonna post this in the Clutch Reddit if they allow it, saying, hey, we did an episode on a band you enjoy. You might want to hear a couple of people talk about it. So again, I am a first time listener. I have only been listening to them for 1 month. So this is my background, 1 month. And the only thing I've listened to, and I've almost been listening to this album for 1 month. That's it. Front to back, over and over again, over and over again, over and over. I have listened to this. I probably have listened to this album in 1 month at least 30 to 40 times.
Okay. That's probably the more times than I've listened to it in 30 years.
That's my background. So that when you hear me, Ryan, speaking, I don't want anyone to at me too harshly in your mind. No one ever comments, but in your mind when you're listening, don't at me too harshly regarding the band, because I'm coming in. We're talking out of the womb, and this is the only album I know. Now, I did go on YouTube, and I searched for on YouTube live performances from this album, so I know what the band looks like, and I'm glad I do.
Yeah,
and because I think I'm glad I do. Seeing what Neil looks like as a lead singer today makes me, well, here we go. Here's the spoiler alert. Andy, I freaking love this album so much.
Okay. Terrific. Good.
It was easy. I wouldn't listen to an album 30 times in 30 days or whatever, 25, 30 times. Like today, I listened to it 3 times just today to get ready for today's show. And I love this album. Oh, welcome to the show. If you're new to my podcast, because what we do in the show, guys, is we pick something that's the best of or the favorite of, which for Andy is this album from one of his favorite bands, and this album. We're going to talk about each song, do snippets from each song, and at the end, independent of each other, I don't know Andy's pick, and he doesn't know mine. We're going to pick what we feel is the worst song on the album. Now, it doesn't mean it's bad. Got to keep this in mind. People get really bent out of shape with this, but not every song is created equal. It's impossible. There has to be something that's not, because if every song is the same, then you don't enjoy anything. That's impossible. You can't love everything the same. So there's one song that if your gun was to your head, Andy, and I said you have to eliminate one of these songs from this track, or a track from the CD or album, and it will never hear it again, you have to pick that song. So you have to sacrifice one of these babies. Now, so I say all this. This was an amazing experience, and the question that I asked and answered to myself if I was ever interviewing Neil would be, Neil, who inspired you to write this album? Like, what bands inspired you to write this album? And his response would have been yes. Because when I listened to this album, I heard Black Sabbath. Yeah, I heard a Deep Purple. I heard Stone Temple Pilots. I heard some Van Halen and David Lee Roth era Van Halen sounds. But it didn't feel like they were stealing, but they were definitely inspired. The sounds were all there. It's just, yeah. What are your thoughts on my on those inspirations?
I would say that you're spot on with Black Sabbath for sure. I can hear, your thoughts, and even more to elaborate on that, I would say there's a lot of country influence in there too.
Oh yeah.
Maybe like a Waylon Jennings or outlaw country vibes in a couple of the songs.
What about Alice in Chains regarding that, with the that sound? Not Lane Staley singing, but I could see Jerry Cantrell doing this type of music.
Yeah, they allow themselves that freedom. It's not like one of these bands that would just play the same thing over and over again for 3 minutes. There's a lot of songs that pivot. They'll start with one riff and then it becomes a whole different song, or vice versa. At the end, it evolves into something else. You get past this album and they go, I don't want to talk too much about the other albums. That's not what we're here for, but they start incorporating a lot more keyboards and harmonica.
Interesting.
And some more rap style things. So
wow! So I'm in the journey. I'm here for it. I was so tempted to. In fact, I did cheat. And it was not that I couldn't, but I wanted to focus on this album because I wanted to have all my thoughts I didn't want to get too distracted because I wanted to focus on this album. But I did hear one of their latest singles on their YouTube. It was really good. It was just really good. One of the newer videos, his face is in the sand. I forget the name of it, but it's on YouTube. Yeah, I'm excited to hear more of these guys and excited to go through. Like, I'm going to probably start looking at the songs they play a lot in concerts. Get to that first. Like, what are some of the songs they play a lot of to the fans? Speaking of which, Neil said in an interview that he would rather not play the fan favorites, but he does because it's for the fans.
Yeah.
Does that sound like him?
Yeah. Yes, because I think that I'll say that one of their biggest hits that people demand is one of the songs that I find to be maybe one of their worst songs. It's on
this album.
No, it's on their second. It's on the second album, and it's called Space Grass, and it's
okay.
It's a slog about getting high, but people want to hear it at every show, and it's just like, this is not
interesting.
This is not like, if I played you that song, you probably would not have the same opinion about this band. I don't know that. I mean, I don't know why people love it. I don't love it, but people do.
Well, I'm a huge Metallica fan. I'm sorry if you're not, or my listeners aren't, but I love Metallica. I've done a couple episodes on this. We've done the Black Album, Master Puppets, and Justice for All. I think, have we done? Yeah, Justice for All on this podcast. I've been listening to them since I was 11, so 36, 37 years now. Anyways, a huge fan, and I can't stand there's a couple songs they play at shows that I just like. Pee Break, Enter Sandman, I pee break.
yeah.
Sad but true, I pee break. Whatever. Like, it's just
we're about the same age, and I would agree with you. And back to my point about like discovering music as somebody that didn't have someone to tell me what it was. It's just kind of the age that I was when I found it.
Sure.
Black Album was that for Metallica for me. So
sure.
Everything prior to that people hold up as like their best shit, I was like, well, I like the Black Album because that's when I first learned who it is. I like Countdown to Extinction because that's when I first learned about Megadeth.
I love Megadeth, yeah.
Rust in Peace is probably arguably the best one, but I have a soft spot for Countdown. So and I like
check out our Rust in Peace review. We did that on this podcast.
Great. I'll check that out for sure. But I like that you were talking about Neil's appearance, because when you go back to that Space Grass album and you look at him, he looks like the way that the dude from that band Live, like that scrawny, short, gaunt, hairless, short hair, skinny.
Oh no!
And you look at the guy and you're just like, well, that guy doesn't look scary or impressive like on like a hard rock album. But then you hear this preacher voice like proclamating on over this whole album. And with the layers of the vocals, he'll like take he'll go low and he'll layer it high, and
I love
all of this dimension to his voice. You're like, how is that coming out of this guy? And the rest of the band, they did over COVID, they did a series of Zoom concerts. They did like 3 or 4, and we were watching it. I was just like, these guys, it just looks like 4 guys that got off their shift of managing a GameStop. That's what it looks like.
I told my son, I have an older son who he's into hard rock as well. He's 24. And I told him we're doing this. I showed him a song from the album. I'll get to that song that I showed him, and he loved it. And check out some of their live stuff. I said they all look like they're retired substitute school teachers.
Yeah.
Man, I just insulted the band because Stuttering John is a sub-school. I shouldn't have done
lump them in with that. Yeah.
Yeah, how dare me? Sorry.
Yeah, I'm sure John would put himself in their category. But you go to these concerts, and it's all guys with, 10-inch beards, baseball caps, 220 pounds, 5'7", and just these guys are the bread and butter audience members for this
That's
band.
Great.
And I think it's because they're relatable in that way. It seems accessible. It seems approachable. The riffs are digestible, but still cool. And that's like the whole appeal of these guys.
Love it. Okay, so Clutch, that's for I do have listeners who listen to every episode regardless of the topic. So Clutch is an American rock band formed in Germantown, Maryland in 91. The band consists of 4 members: Neil Fallon, who does vocals, rhythm guitar, and keyboards; Tim Sult, who does lead guitar; Dan Maines on bass; and JP or Jean-Paul Gaster, who does drums and percussion. They're known for their energetic live performances and eclectic musical style. Clutch has developed a dedicated fan base over their 3-decade career. The band's sound is a unique blend of various genres, including hard rock, blues rock, stoner rock, and heavy metal. Their music is characterized by Neil Fallon's distinctive vocals, which we're going to hear some, and lyrical style, which often incorporates elements of science fiction, mythology, definitely on this album, and Americana. On this album as well, actually, in the Americana. They've just recently, as you probably know this, Andy, that they have their own label now called the Weathermaker Music. They formed it in 2008, and this gave them greater creative control over their music and its distribution. So what are your feelings on that? Is that true?
Yeah, well, you look at some of the trajectory of their career as far as like their labels, I feel like they maintained control over their songs and the rights, because it starts off on Earache, and then they're on Atlantic, and then they're on Columbia, and then they're like self-releasing this and that. And I think it's all in an effort to retain creative control, but also goes to my point of this. Maybe that's why you never heard of these guys, but they never got a big push from a big label because they had a multi-album deal that a big label wanted to champion. So, and when you talk about the lyrical stylings, I would include religion in there a lot. There's a lot of talk about the Bible and things like that. Yeah. Not like it's a religious band, but I think it's just a well that Neil runs to for,
I would say that, yeah,
like for songwriting, and it's an impactful imagery and things like that.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, let's get into the songs. That's a great intro. That's a really, very good intro. I hope our fans of Clutch enjoyed it. I'm ready to listen to some of these songs. So again, we're going to play snippets. We're not going to play the whole song. I encourage, like I always do, encourage everyone to go out there, support the band, listen to the album, download it, pay for it, whatever you need to do. Well, I'm a subscriber to iTunes. I get it that way, or YouTube, but I think they do get some money when you play it. So
you won't be disappointed.
No, you will. If you like hard rock, here's the thing, and there are definitely, I know one of my best podcasting friends who I haven't met yet in person, but kind of like WATP universe. I have some people that I've formed friendships with in the podcasting universe on my end. He's going to definitely be listening to this episode because he's a big WATP fan because of me. So he's really excited that I'm with you. I know it's all kind of weird, but he's a hard rock guy too. So I think he's somebody after that we do this episode, he's going to be like, yeah, I want to listen to these guys. Because if you're not listening to Clutch and you like hard rock and you like rock and roll, that's my plug. You got to I can't imagine that their other albums are horrible compared to this one. I can't imagine. Yeah. Okay. All right. So the first track is Mercury. Okay, before he starts singing, you hear right the drumming there. I don't know if you caught it. I caught it right away. Just at the very end of the clunk, clunk sound of the drum, it sounds just like Metallica's much maligned, which I think it's overly maligned, Saint Anger's album with Lars's drumming. It's the same time too. So I don't know if there was an error of time when they had that drum sound, but just that last part there, you hear it sounds like Lars came in on the scene and did that last part of the drums. Have you ever caught that sound?
I can see what you mean when you say that. Yes, but
I don't know. I'm not a music guy. Like I don't know any. Like I know you play.
I was going to ask. Do you play it all?
Yeah, I'm not as good as Carl or Stuttering John. No, I don't play anything. I am absolutely useless at any instrument. I can't sing. I can't play. I just love rock and roll. I love the electric guitar. I love music. So I'm a lover of the genre, but I don't play anything. I tried when I was 14, and whoever created my DNA says, "No, dude, you suck. Just enjoy the music."
Yeah.
Now you play with Carl, right?
Yes.
Clutch though, they do instrumental albums or songs as well, or side projects. I heard.
Yeah, there's been a few side projects over the year.
Okay.
I know the company band being one of them, and
That's
maybe
right.
maybe they do like some B-side things under a different name. But I know we've set up as a rule that the instrumental tracks don't count. And for one of them, I agree. For the other
Well, yeah.
for the other one, it's still one of my favorite songs on the album. But I'm okay setting those aside, and it doesn't matter because it wouldn't be my vote for the worst at the end anyway. But
That's
yeah,
right.
they do a couple of different variations on the band, especially as they've grown as musicians and wanted to do something that maybe was not in the Clutch rock vein, and they
Okay.
wanted to do something maybe that was a more bluesy country type of things.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
They'll take it in like a different direction with a different band or like a B-side album. But this first track on the album, we just got to the end of the intro and it's already giving me like, this is quintessential. This first song describes the whole band for 30 years.
Wow.
Is Mercury to me. Yeah, we're not even into the main part of the song, but
yeah. So we're gonna get Neil. Neil's gonna join up here, and I went back just a little bit so people can hear that Lars sound there on the drums by JP. But I want the people who've never heard the band before. You're gonna hear Neil's vocals, and he comes in such a unique way. Think of, I'm a first time listener. I'm listening to this album in order. I'm listening to the song, and then Neil comes in with this vocal. It's in a unique arrangement of singing. And I'm like, whoa, what am I in for? Which is a great feeling to have.
Deedless, your child is falling, and the labyrinth is calling. Renegade hates, humanity abandoned. Power of the fowls, you lit them and fed them. Mercury, the courier, celestial messenger, bear with on your right.
I'm going to say this every time, and I've said this before with previous music episodes, because we often review, in fact, we only review albums that we enjoy, because it has to be or there's no point, because it has to be the worst of the best, right? So this is one of the first albums. I've done another album, just like you, and he came in with an album choice from a band that I'm familiar with, but not any of their music per se. That was actually Kiss's Destroyer. I've never listened to the album. I often say, I don't want to stop the song. I hate stopping the song. It's very jarring, but we have to for the sake of the timing.
We'll never get through it if we just listen to the whole album.
Yeah, we can just have a listening party. Okay. But anyways, I love Neil's vocals here. What a unique sound he's got. I don't know how to describe it. And then every song is different. But this, I love how he just comes in with that ba-ba-da-ba-da, ba-ba-da-ba-da. And he sings with this, I would say it's guttural, but it's a sound in his voice. What are your thoughts on his voice?
I don't know how he does it. He's kind of, I know you listened to that. I listened to your episode about Appetite, where he's like Axl in that way, where he has all these different flavors of his voice that he can do. And depending on the song, he'll lend a different shade of his vocal. Sometimes he'll multi-track and give you the lower version coupled with the higher version. And he just has all this dimension to his voice. And I like what you were saying about the rhythm of it. It's this, like, the drums are the shuffling. Oh yeah, it's kind of like a and bouncing, the way that I feel maybe like a White Zombie kind of invented that groove rock sort of vibe. This has this rollicking, like the whole album to me is driving music or traveling. Like, this feels like you're riding on a boat. This feels like you're flying in a spaceship. This feels like you're bouncing down the road. And this whole album is just like, let's just put it on and drive as far as we can and see how far we get until it ends. So, I mean, that's just like this flavor that I get from this album.
Yeah, this album doesn't necessarily have, or it's not necessarily a concept album, but there is a light connection throughout some of the songs, not all of them. There is some of this mythology or Greek mythology that happens throughout the album. Look at the cover art; it's very unique in its own right.
This is definitely a departure from the traditional logo. It's an oval
Okay.
that looks like a bumper sticker.
Oh, I have seen that. Yes. Okay, I've seen that. Okay, that is their sort of their logo. So this is different.
Over the years, that's become the iconic logo. And the first, not every album though, but this one is definitely the biggest departure from the style and the cover art. And I'm remembering now, this came out after their album Pure Rock Fury, which
Okay.
you got Elephant Riders, solid logo. Pure Rock Fury, solid logo. And then Pure Rock Fury was kind of not received as well. A lot of people that know more than I do critiqued it as being like poorly produced, or maybe
Oh,
they kind of like tried to take too much control into their hands, and then it didn't sound as good as some of the previous work. So then that one is maybe like more critiqued than the others, and then they come back with this, and the art is all different, the songs are back to being maybe a return to what people wanted. I mean, we're not even past track one, and I'm already getting into what really like pushed this album
sure. Yeah.
into the zeitgeist was, I think, maybe Bam Margera from Jackass and Viva La Bam, if you're familiar with that.
Yeah.
That had a lot of opinions or like friendships in this kind of genre of music that was in the realm of Fu Manchu and CKY, especially CKY, if you know those bands at all.
No, I don't know that one. CKY.
I'm not super familiar with them either, but he featured this album a lot on that MTV show Viva La
Oh,
Bam. There's a lot of tracks on this album were featured on that, and I think track 3. Maybe we should talk about that when we get to track 3.
yeah.
But
Okay. So yeah, we're done with track one. We'll move on to Prophets of Doom. Of course, a play on words there with the prophets being spelt, for money, Prophets of Doom. And I noticed that throughout this album. Yeah, I would say, if I was a guess, I'm not sure. I would just say they're probably not affiliated with any religion. I would hazard to guess they're probably not religious people per se. They might have spirituality, but I don't think they subscribe to religion. It's my guess. I don't know if I'm wrong.
I would say you're right about that. And again, I think that Neil uses it as inspiration. And I think that he has this preacher style. A lot of it is him. Even his stage presence is like that. It feels like he's addressing a congregation.
Yes. I love that. Yeah. There's that song later. Can I get an amen? I believe. Okay. Here we go. Prophets of Doom, the intro.
And a supernova tossed off the cliffs of Dover, washed up on a faraway shore in the arms of the daughter of the buffalo. Mama said he was a chosen one. Ray said he was the other one. All that paid no mind inside his econo-line. Swallow our planets, the prophets of doom.
So great intro, Prophets of Doom. What's your overall thoughts on this song?
I love that intro. It just kind of feels like it's going in and out of, it's going in one ear and out the other and back again and invading your head. And that whole bass intro, like I said, informed all of my bass playing musical career. I went and I got a Rickenbacker. I went and got an Orange Head. I want to play just like Dan Main's. It's my taste. This is it.
Yeah, all four of these guys are so uniquely talented. I'm just saying that I watched their live performances, and a band has to sell me live. If they can't sell me live, I don't want anything to do with you. Well, to a certain degree. I mean, I'm sure I still would have enjoyed the album, but I just loved how they look. I love how they look. It's so great. Tim on guitar, he's so unassuming. He just is he okay? His posture is so weird. His posture is so awkward. Is he okay? Yeah. He's kind of hunched the way he.
I know what you mean when you were saying they have to sell you live, and that's all Neil. Because Dan,
it is,
and Tim. I mean, yeah, JP's drumming his ass off, but Dan and Tim are just making it happen, and then Neil is commanding the whole stage and engaging the audience, and and nothing but charisma, and that's what draws you in.
But I think that's great because you watch Tim play, especially I've only seen them in their older years. The older live performances have been pretty much 2020 onward. I've watched, and it's just I kind of like that Tim and Dan are nerdy or kind of just standing there because what they're playing is amazing, and the way Neil occupies the stage, his hand movements, the way he kind of points at the crowd, does his hand movements, and his mannerisms are so. It's cool and dorky at the same time. I don't know how to explain it.
Yeah, and it gives hope to dorks like me. That's why people latch on to them and become so enamored with them. And you're right, Neil. He gives you these catchphrases, these hooks, these parts that you can sing along to so that you can become engaged and feel like you're actually part of the band and part of the show. And it's all part of by design and part of the appeal of the band.
Were you looking at notes?
No.
I was like, wow. That's why I was like, wow, look at this guy coming prepared with notes.
I've been thinking about it a lot though. And I've been listening to this album a lot. And I will say before we get to the end, I still kind of have not made up.
That's natural. That can happen. I have done more. Obviously, I've done almost 200 episodes. There'll be times where I've changed my mind because I'll talk to my brother or the guest co-host about it. I can have my mind changed about what could be the worst. Mm-hmm. And I'll say to you, my pick was very difficult too. I like this part here at the 2:35 mark. I called it, first half of the song. That was Stone Temple Pilots. That was the Vaseline era.
Oh, yeah.
Temple. Okay.
I hear that. Yeah.
Yeah. And at the 2:35 is where I thought Black Sabbath.
Never trust the white man trapping the black man. He just saving all his voodoo for you.
I just love how he says, I don't know why that line kills me. Never trust a white man driving a black van. I love that. I don't know why that imagery is hilarious to me.
That's my favorite part too. He gives you these nuggets of imagery, and you're just like that. And the rhyme scheme, what he puts together. And I think that is really, when we get to the end, is going to be the things that inform what is maybe the least favorable effort on this album are the things that don't pull that off for me.
Oh yeah, fair enough.
Because they're so good at doing that. So
that's what you're gonna have. That's kind of that would be the argument is like, you do something so well, it's like you have to. It's clutch against clutch. Like you've shown me better before. Now we've got to pick something here. Okay,
exactly.
All right. So this third track is, I believe, their only official single from the album. Am I correct on that one?
Yeah, like I was saying, Bam Margera, I think, directed this video, and it included like Ryan Dunn and a lot of people from the Viva La Bam show in the video. So this one got a big push. It was featured on that show, and I think they talk about the band on the show. So they're getting all this organic marketing run based on that. So, but yeah, this is just maybe the most popular song on this album.
It seems to be played a lot at their concerts too. So this might be what Neil's talking about regarding, I play this for the fans because this song could have helped them get some fans. But okay, here we go. The Mob Goes Wild.
Please allow me to adjust my pants so that I may dance the good time dance and put the onlookers and innocent bystanders into a trance. whistles, the beast you see got 50 eyes. Bring it on home, spread the wealth, play it cool, the hand's been dealt. Now all the odds are in our favor, save the victory speeches for later. Streets on fire, the mob goes wild, wild, wild. Streets on fire, the mob goes wild.
So I love how when they sing that part, the mob goes wild. We have a mob chorus singing behind them, which elevates the chorus a little bit.
Right. And if there's going to be any lyric that is going to incite a mosh pit, that's going to be it. But
Sure.
when you talk about maybe why he only plays that for the fans, you hear the way that he's delivering that first verse. It's more spoken and not so, maybe not the most exciting vocal to deliver. Even though
it's a change. It's a change from the first two songs.
Yeah,
for sure.
You
And
have the portion that comes right after that, the 21 guns.
sorry, I do. I can go back. Absolutely.
I just feel like that's maybe like the most exciting part of the song.
Oh, okay. And well, then we'll roll into where he mentions my home country. I don't know if I told you I'm Canadian. So there you go. And we should tell listeners you're called Trucker Andy. Why? Because you drove a truck for a few years. Is that correct? A big rig?
Yes, I was a CDL truck driver for 15 years.
There you go.
I'm not anymore, but that's where the name comes from.
Well, I'm 21 years in the Navy, so maybe I should just be Navy Ryan. That's what I should be. Sorry. But no, Trucker Andy sounds much
Don't
better
overthink it, Ryan. That's my motto. Don't overthink it.
That's been my whole podcasting history, not overthinking this stuff. Okay, yeah, here we go, 21 Guns. And I mentioned Canada because we might as well play into where Neil says we should all just move to Canada.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Beast you see got 50 eyes. Bring it on home, spread the wealth, play it cool, the hand's been dealt. Now all the odds are in our favor, save the victory speeches for later. Streets on fire, the mob goes wild, wild, wild. Streets on fire, the mob goes wild. 21 guns, box made of pine, letter from the government sealed and signed, delivered Federal Express on your mother's doorsteps. 21 guns, box made of pine, letter from the government sealed and signed, delivered Federal Express on your mother's doorsteps. Condoleezza Rice is nice, but I prefer Aroni. And that man on the TV who speaks to the dead, you know that man's a phony. Everybody move to Canada, smoke lots of pot. Everybody move to Canada right now. Here's how we do it. Bum rush the border God before he and his dog ever knew it.
Come up to Canada, Trucker. We'd love to have you.
Yeah. I love Canada.
I got to get down to. I'm actually making a trip to Philly, I believe, in 2025. I'm a big Rocky fan. There's a poster there behind me, and
That's how I
here.
found
That's right.
Show. Yeah.
And my other podcast, the Rocky Series podcast, check it out, folks. Anyways, I'm going to go to the Philly Rockies, the Rocky Steps. I haven't been there before, and I was thinking I should make a trip through Rochester just to say hi. How far is that from Philly? Because I don't think it's too far of a drive, is it?
I mean, it's probably not that far out of your way if you're on your way to Philly, but it's not like near Philly.
Like I can kind of do like I'm coming down from. Oh yeah, I'm coming from Canada. That part. Yeah, I'm coming from Ontario, Ottawa. So
yeah. I mean, we're right near Buffalo, close to Toronto.
Okay, I should come by and say hi.
You could make it. You could make it part of the.
I really hope I can go to a live show one day, and that would really be the combination. Is what I would do. Is if so next time you guys do a Rochester show, I think I'm just going to drive down. But it has to be summer, so I can drive.
TableCon 2 in August 16th and 17th.
Yeah, I know. I wish I wanted to go this year. Long story short, if Carl's still listening, I wanted to come this year, but I had a son's wedding in May that we attended on one side of Canada, and I have to go to my other son's wedding in September, the end of August. So I'm tapped out for travel and for time off. So I have to go to the weddings, folks. So if you can do another one, summer 25, I'm going to be there. Okay.
I'm sure there'll be another one, but now that we're like linked up and you're going to have Lucy on, it's going to be more close knit,
Yeah, it'd be great.
We'll have
it'd be fantastic. All right, so yeah, great song. I mean, I wanted to play the guitar solo because when I first heard the album, when I got 2 songs, I was like, oh, I haven't really heard any guitar solos. Maybe they're not a guitar solo band, but they did not disappoint in this song. That's your AC/DC right there, folks. That's your AC/DC mixed with Rage Against the Machine there too. I don't know if that is another influence they might have, but boy, I heard some Rage sound. Their bass and drums is they could easily play with Rage and they would fit right in. Like they'd be able to produce the same sounds, or vice versa. They're very similar. I think if they're on the same venue, it wouldn't be very jarring for the audience to hear the 2 bands. I don't think.
Yeah, I think when Tim jumps on the wah, you get a lot of that Rage vibe. And I wouldn't be surprised at all to learn that they had played together over the years, at least maybe like in festivals or something like that. But I would like to see that show, those two bands together.
Oh yeah. I'm not even a huge Rage fan per se. I like Tom Morello, but I really enjoyed Audio Slave with Chris Cornell because I was a big Chris Cornell fan. So when Tom came over to play with Cornell, I was like, "Oh, this is cool to have this," because it was more rock and roll that I because I'm a hard rock guy. So like, yes, Rage is their own thing, and I appreciate their energy and their charisma. But as far as musical stylings go, Audio Slave was right in that wheelhouse. So when Tom came over with his great guitar soloing work with Chris Cornell, I was like, yeah, this is cool.
Yeah,
interesting. Yeah. All right. The next song is Cypress Grove. This is a very funky song.
This is maybe, if I were to direct anybody to a specific song from Clutch, this would be maybe the song. I would say go listen to this.
Oh, interesting. It wasn't the one I told my son to listen to, but this is a good pick. This is a valid pick. Let's check it out. Now, I just want to stop that because I love how I love that part. The way he sings, his vocal there is so cool. It really is just cool the way he sings that two-way. That vocal effect is so cool.
Yeah, the whatever distortion, that register that he's able to achieve. We've heard him do the guttural thing. We've heard him do the conversational thing, and now he's giving you like the top of his range, and it's got that phaser or whatever, the distortion that's on it, that's giving it even more personality. This song, especially on drums, JP's line, they do like a drum breakdown kind of in the before the end of the song, and that's giving like everything that I want from like what he does on drums. It has that whole like groove and just personality. Like his personality is poured into this drum line.
Now tell me, holy devil, where you at? There's a woman on the hill in a wide-brimmed hat with a shotgun 44 and a razorback bore in the back of a jacked-up Ford.
That bass going, I'm also listening to the bass and the drums are just killer behind that guitar solo.
yeah, great rhythm section. And that the back of a jacked up Ford, and over the song, different things are appearing in the back of a jacked up Ford, and it just paints a picture in your head that all of average Joe American wants to feel like they're driving that. I don't know. It's just it connects with people.
Absolutely,
I think that's why I recommend it to people so much. That line specifically will just like connect with you.
His singing, the way he enunciates the lines, the woman standing at the wide brim hat, like that in itself, like what are you talking about? But he's talking about witches, I think, is the idea here. These are witches and some sort of ceremony with the wine drinking and something like that. But
I think you're right, and I think that is more when you were talking about themes of the album. I feel like that theme appears in different songs in the album, specifically like women grieving, with like ethereal women in different settings, that those lyrics come up in a variety of songs on this album. But
I'm going to give you a bit of a hot take as the album goes on here. And the more I've listened to it, I have found with this album, it gets better with every song. And I don't know if they knew what they were doing. Some albums can fizzle. Some can have, especially on side 2. It's always the worst part of most albums. As you know, Andy, you're a prolific music guy. Side B, third track in of 6 songs. It seems to be this is where we're dipping a little bit. It's a side B in the middle of the side B. These guys, I feel like every song just keeps ratcheting it up. What are your thoughts on that? I don't know if I'm overselling this, but I feel like the more I've listened to it, great start with Mercury, don't get me wrong, but it doesn't let up. In fact, after about 10 listens, I was like, what song am I going to pick? Maybe I should allow the musical intermission one that's 45 seconds long, Weathermaker. Maybe I should allow that one just so I could pick that.
I know everybody would just pick that. It's like,
but it's too weak. That's too easy. We have to make it hard. That's the name of the game.
Yeah. And if you were to, when you put it that way, I think it's important to note that the album ebbs and flows as we highlight different parts of these tracks. The more we get into it, we're going to get to a part where certain songs, I could think of 2 specifically that they're not my picks for the worst song in the album, but you're like, well, this is a departure, but in a good way. It gives you, it gives the album some breathing room. So when you're saying it's like ratcheting and ratcheting and ratcheting, not so much that you don't get to exhale and regroup and keep enjoying the album.
I love it. And I know exactly which 2 songs you're talking about. I bet. So well said. Yeah. And it adds a level of maturity, I think, a little bit to the album. But not right now. Right now we're doing Promoter of Earthbound Causes. That's the name of the song. Love it. And right there with that initial sound effect right there. You know what it sounds like just the very beginning? 2 things. One, it sounds like a UFO. I think it's supposed to sound like a spaceship or something. That's the idea. A spaceship. This is the Promoter of Earthbound Causes. So this is what I thought was like a space. This is like a space song. But it sounds like the very beginning of the bass lines of Van Halen's Tell Me Why This Can't Be Love. You're dead
on. Yeah. And you're right everywhere about that.
Sorry, and this reminds me now, aliens talking. That's what I got from that. Aliens were speaking to each other. Wow, 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 to each other. Anyways, okay, I won't stop again. Here we go.
Swindled the promoter, took the lunatics for a ride, and a little voice inside my head said, Rosemary, baby, I got the time
now. I admit, when I first heard the song, this was actually in my mind's eye, because I'm listening to it for the first time, and I'm kind of thinking, what's gonna be my worst pick? I got to listen to this album, but I got to be like, And there's a part of me like, is this gonna be my worst pick? Because I think, okay, it's not bad. Like it's got, but it didn't feel as unique necessarily as other songs I heard. It kind of sounded, I wouldn't say generic, but it like this album was very unique to me. Of all the albums I've listened to, rock and roll I've listened to, this came off very strong. Of like, this is new. This does not feel 20 years old. Yeah, we should have mentioned it. Did we not mention this? Came out in 2004. This is crazy. This is their 6th studio album, but came out 20 years ago. This does not sound like something that came out 20 years ago, because the early 2000s was some horrible music back then.
Right.
So this is very telling of a band that can make this sound in 2004. Okay. So I'm going to go to 135, and I think it was this part of the song where I'm like, oh, okay. And then again at the guitar solo, this is where the song turned me around a little bit. Okay. I don't think I can make this my worst pick now. I think it's just that part there. I just love how he just elevated it and then wow at the end. I love that. I was like, okay, we got something going on here.
Give me just a minute while I clarify.
Right there.
If you wanna roll, please step away from the vehicle. Ragnarok, a revolutionist. Give me just a minute while I clarify.
So I love that. Those lyrics are on their own, not the greatest. Like, what do you say again? Get ready to rock if you want to roll.
Yeah.
Not like on paper, you're like, oh, come on. You know, like this is what AC/DC does so well. Horrible lyrics, but they play the greatest like hard rock, you know, like they play. This is where Clutch comes in with not maybe the greatest lyric right there, but the way Neil sings that, it's just like, oh, this is so rock and roll. Like, and I love how he says, if it's step away from the vehicle, like, what are we talking about? I don't know what you're talking about, but
I think you're right. That ready to rock if you want to roll is another thing that the audience can grasp on. Everybody, you know, if you're seeing this live, everybody is singing along to that, you know, it's that accessibility and, you know, step away from the vehicle. It's kind of like you have this possession over your car, like keeping people, like protecting it. I don't know what he's getting at with that lyric, but it feels relatable, and and that's how he, you know, gets you on board with the song and that chorus.
Yeah, it's a fun song. Like I said, when I first heard it, I was like, okay, you know, I got to pick a song, and that was actually. You're allowed to do this. You're allowed to say what could have been your worst pick, but that's it. You can't do it obviously for every song, because then you figure it out. So I'll say I'll make this my one veto, where I will say this was on the verge of being my worst pick. Not that it's a bad song, but it's like I got to pick a song. But that last half of it was saved, the way that he does the vocal effect with the echoes, and then the guitar solo, and then the step away from the vehicle, the way he sings at the end, is saved the song. It's like, oh crap, I got to pick a different song.
Well, since you're saying that about this song specifically, I will say generally about this album, that I feel like there is a tier of quality, or not quality, but there's a separation of maybe this is the top. This is the top performing. These are the guys giving it their all, and then maybe these are like B-sides or something. And there's certain songs on this album. Obviously, the one that we're going to pick as maybe the worst one would fall into the bucket of a second tier B-side type of song, and you probably felt that way about this one.
I think so. I think it was on the verge, but that's it. My worst pick is the only other song where I had to pick a worst pick. And I'll give my reasons at the end, of course. But yeah, I mean, that was saved by the end. I said, no, I can't. The other song doesn't get saved the way this one did, in that way. Again, Clutch against itself. This is
I know. I'm so curious to hear if we pick the same thing. Or...
I wonder. I won't say. Okay. All right. So this next song, this is what you're talking about. and I was mentioning, yeah, amped up, ramped up, ramped up. So I'm going again, first time listen. This kicks in. I'm like, what do we have here? And I knew the moment I heard this song, and I think I'm right. You tell me if I'm wrong, that this must be a fan favorite. When I heard this song, I said to myself, this has to be something that people love. This has to be a favorite amongst fans. Am I wrong or right about the Regulator?
To me, you're right. I like this song. I think that one of the things about this song, I know that not everybody feels the same way.
Oh, really? Interesting.
Specifically,
okay.
Carl, I would say that.
Oh, really? Okay.
We were talking about, I've been talking about the fact that we're doing this album and bringing it up to, my brother and my brother-in-law and Carl and people, and just kind of like feeling them out for what they think.
Oh,
it doesn't inform my opinion, especially when somebody says that this is not, that the Regulator is their least favorite song on this album. You're fucking wrong. Because
did Carl say this is his worst pick?
No, but he brought it up as an option.
Contender?
I think he may have been talking about something that we're going to get to later. Okay. What I will say I know about this song specifically is that we talked about Mob Goes Wild being the most popular song off this album. This one was featured in the series The Walking Dead. There is an episode that ends with this song on there, and I think it has a certain vibe. It has a certain personality, and I think that a lot of this comes from Neil is a fledgling guitar player. I mean, he's probably an accomplished guitar player at this point, but I'm pretty sure that every once in a while live, Neil will come out with the guitar and play certain parts. So I think Neil is playing on this.
I've seen him live. I saw the live performance. He was playing. Yeah, it was him doing the intro to this. So
there you go. Yeah. So some of this songwriting is maybe informed by that. Like it's more
interesting.
Neil's songwriting and Neil's guitar playing, not in a bad way. I love this song.
So one of my projects I'm going to do when I'm done with the Rocky podcast, when I put that to bed, I'm almost done the podcast, put it to bed. I want to do another podcast series on another genre, and that was going to be Westerns. And so when I heard this intro, the moment I heard the intro, I don't know if I won't get the copyright. Maybe I'll reach out to his camp or find a cover version, maybe is what I could do online. Mm-hmm. But I heard this intro. I was like, oh, I would love to have this intro for my intro music. That's what this did to me. So right away, I fell in love with just the intro alone. So let's check it out. So I was like, oh, this is like perfect for an intro to a podcast. Welcome to the Western Podcast by Ryder Balkan. And then when I heard that part kick in, I was like, oh, we're going somewhere. Oh, we're going somewhere.
Yep. And that's exactly what I was saying at the beginning about certain songs feel like you're traveling a certain way. Some feel like a boat. Some feel like a spaceship. This is definitely horseback. And it gives you all of those Western vibes.
And one of my favorite Westerns of all time is the Young Guns movies, Young Guns 1 and 2. So this is called The Regulator. And so here's the thing. When I saw the title The Regulator, and then I heard the initial licks that came in, I got totally nerded out. I was like, oh my gosh, this is like the Regulator's theme song. This is the Regulators. Like I freaked out in my mind. So I fell in love with it right away. Western fan, huge Young Guns fan. It's called Regulator. So I don't know if Neil is a Young Guns fan. Maybe there's a small part of him that connected that, but I certainly connected that.
Wouldn't be surprised.
Already we're 1:10 into this song, no singing, the electric guitars just kicked in. So again, we're thinking, okay, this is going somewhere. We're gonna probably amp it up a little bit. It's gonna get some crunchier sounds coming up. Like experienced musical listener will kind of figure this is what's happening. But I love it. I love how the intro just builds and builds and builds.
Yeah, it's setting a tone, and it's setting an expectation. And a lot of times they'll either meet or exceed or divert from where you think it's going to go, but it always usually ends up in a fun place.
Yeah, his vocals are just so cool here. You can almost just see him with the cowboy hat down, with the straw out of his mouth, riding the horse, just low. Yeah, I love it.
And it's something I'm only picking up on right now, just listening intently. The snare roll that JP is doing, that he's got that like sizzling little snare roll that is giving it its own personality. And yeah, this is definitely a standalone track. That
absolutely,
it's doing its own thing on the album in the best way possible.
So I'm going to move to the bridge, because I think the bridge after the bridge has the chorus. We'll still hear the chorus, but the bridge is. I just love the lines it uses here, and I'm 90% sure memory serves he kicks into the chorus after, so the audience will still hear the chorus.
Is his wallet leather? Is his wallet fat? For not a year later, it's got you lying on your back. You should have closed your windows and got another dog. You should have chained up all the doors and switched up all the locks.
I just love that. The way the delivery is such a simple. He's basically saying, you should have got more dogs, change your locks, but the delivery and the proper amount of syllables to say switch up all your locks to make sure it's that the proper syllable length of everything. But the imagery is so cool of this dangerous entity that's coming around.
Right. Yeah, you can hear all of the effort that went into making sure that it was delivered the right way, and what was being delivered was impactful and is telling a story. It's all very intentional like that.
And how many times have I prayed?
Again, very subtle, but I love that screaming in the background. You hear that echoing vocal effect.
Yeah,
it's a high pitched.
Yeah,
who's doing that? Who's doing that vocal work?
Him. He's backing himself up. That's what I'm talking about when I say he delivers it that low way. And I mean, I could be wrong. I might be wrong about that. Don't quote me on that. But I know that.
Well, you're probably right.
So many people they'll double their track and they'll just sing the same thing the same way and back themselves up like that. But I think Neil goes out of his way to do things but in a different register and different tone of voice, so that it brings a different dimension and layer to the song. So I always assumed that was him doing that.
Oh, it probably is. I don't know if the other band members. I don't recall them singing any background vocals.
No, I've seen them many times live, and you don't typically see the other guys singing. So
okay.
I'm just assuming it's like production of him backing himself up.
And it's a great, again, I've said this before in previous episodes, where what is the thought process where they say, we got to get this in the back? How do they know to do that? That's what I can't create music. I don't know how a song is made. I don't understand how you create music. I don't get it. I'm fascinated by that part of the brain that people are able to go, this is a sound I'm going to create. And then he's singing. He's like, what would be really good is if I have my, in the background. Just
yeah. I think a lot of it is producer. I don't know who produced this. You do it long enough, you work with enough producers and people suggest enough things that I'm sure there's like, let's do it like this. Let's do it like they're referencing other albums that they've heard that they're fans of. And it's the difference between like coming up with the idea to do that is the difference between being good and the difference between being great.
there you go. Produced by Clutch and Machine. Machine is a person or another band. I don't know. Machine and Clutch. You know what? It says Machine and Clutch. I wonder if that's just them. They probably call themselves Machine and Clutch as the producers. Let us know in the comments. Let us call my voicemail, which I don't.
Tell us how dumb we are.
The angels will speed me away. Dream with the feathers of angels stuck beneath your head. The regulator, swinging pendulum. Dream with the feathers of angels stuck beneath your head. The regulator, swinging pendulum.
I just love it. The Regulator, swinging pendulum. Just what a great imagery.
Yeah. And even the feathers of angels stuff beneath your head, like your pillow is angel feathers. How do you come up with that?
I don't know.
It's so great.
People are much more talented than us, I think, is how it works.
Right.
All right. So we slowed it down, so to speak, slow down. Definitely heavy, dark, moody. Now we're going into Worm Drink. My understanding, Worm Drink was actually, it's a person or it's a figure. It's not actually a drink. It's a person. I think it's a entity or a person or a character, I should say, in their little concept album here. Let's listen to the beginning, but I want you to listen for at the 45-second mark. Do you hear David Lee Roth singing? Check it out.
I'll march no longer. I'll fight no more. You can send out all the track snibblers, but I'm done with war. Wind 'em up, bring 'em back, conscript deserter. The one drink is loose. Wind 'em up, bring 'em back, conscript deserter. The proof is in the juice.
So it's interesting. The first song, minute and a half to get to the first singing. Here, we're 30 seconds in. We already had the chorus sung twice. So.
Yeah. Right. And I would say, like I mentioned, how influential this band is on me. This is the kind of bass line that I would write, I would play based on what I love about these guys, just from a bass playing perspective.
Sure.
Like some of these other tracks, maybe the bass is a little more minimum or not as fun and aggressive in the track. This one is kind of at the forefront, and maybe as a bass player, that makes it more appealing to me.
For sure, yeah. All right, so now we're going to hear. Tell me if you hear. David Lee Roth when he does his talk singing. Tell me you hear it here. Okay. Do you know the part I'm talking about?
Maybe I'm thinking of the woos.
No, coming up. It's coming up right now, and then again at the 1 minute 25. But we'll play it here. Here it comes. Here comes David Lee Roth.
University Boulevard, New Hampshire Avenue.
Now, I don't know why, but it reminds me of David. It's a little bit lower than his timbre, but that's definitely like late David when he did his little sing talking, when they like swab it, just a gigolo. I don't know. It sounded.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I thought you were talking about at the end. They do. I don't know if you clipped it or are you just scrolling through the
I'm
whole
just
thing?
scrolling. I'm just. Yeah.
There's a part where it leads into the end of the song where he's doing that.
Okay. Well, no, that wouldn't be David, but yeah, that's fair.
I thought you were saying that was like a DLR thing.
Okay. Well, I got it again here at 125. Maybe now that I'm playing it, people are going to listen to Ryan, you're an idiot, which is true. I am, but I thought I heard it. Let's try it here.
If you see me at the bottom,
Right there.
please bring me my running shoes.
Tell me that's not David.
I'm with you.
Okay.
I'll stand that, and I'll go
Okay,
along with that.
I got to hear one more time just to justify my whole thing on this.
If you see me at the bottom, please bring me my running shoes.
Not to belabor that point too much, but let's check out the guitar solo here.
Much no longer, I'm done with war. Send out your snivelers, but how much no more?
That bass, man. Wow. Yeah, that's a wicked solo with that bass. Just great rhythm sections. Do not sleep on the drummer and the bassist on this band. These guys, when that guitar solo is going, boy, that rhythm section that's supporting the guitar solo is amazing.
Yeah, listening to it this way with like the headphones on, and you get a lot of times the low end gets lost with smartphones, or
Sure.
it's hard to really grasp how much that rhythm section is driving that song. It's almost mixed the way I'm hearing it now. I don't know if it's the way that the mix in my headphones, but it was almost drowning out the guitar solo.
It was loud,
so high in the mix.
For disclosure, these are the YouTube video rips from their YouTube channel, from Clutch's YouTube channel. So I ripped the videos and I could play it on StreamYard, and it is their reissue. So I wonder if there is some remastering they might have done on the sound that you're hearing too.
Yeah, because they put a whole bunch of B-sides on a reissue that they did in 2011, and
right.
it still went on to chart at 26 on the Billboard Hard Rock Top 100. I think initially it charted at 15 when it first came out, and then they reissued it and it still charted at 26.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right. So what are your thoughts on U2?
U2? Why, you're going to say one of these songs sounds like a U2 song?
No, because this next song is called Army of Bono.
Oh, Bono. Yeah. I've never... You know what? I got tricked into watching a concert video at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in Cleveland, Ohio. When we bought our tickets to get in, they're like, oh, you also get a free ticket to this U2 concert. And I thought it was just an exhibit at the museum. We went and sat down. It was just a whole U2 concert that I sat through. And
wait, like them live or on a movie screen?
It was like a movie. It was like a live U2 concert movie.
Sure.
And what I learned when I watched that, and I've never been a fan of U2, is that they put out a big sound for a three-piece musician.
They do.
And
they do.
They drive a really big stadium sound for a couple of guys, Van Halen style. They pull it off.
Hey, that's fair.
I'm not a big fan, but they pull it off.
Yeah, I actually do quite like them. I've peaked with my fandom with them. I hate saying this about them because they've given me some great content. Boys, I've been podcasting too long. They've given me some great music throughout the years, but I hate it when a band, it's like their last few albums, their last few efforts have been really hard to listen to. It's like I hate that I can't like it the way I like bands that are current, like older bands that are current, that I still enjoy their new stuff. Metallica is one of them. I suspect Clutch might even be one of them. I think there's certain bands that can keep producing good music, but for some reason, I guess they should just retire. And there's no shame in that. Like Billy Joel stopped writing new music. You know that? You know why he stopped writing new music? He said, I'm done. I can't write any more hits. He recognized that he couldn't do it anymore. I
would feel that way about Dave Grohl and Foo Fighters. I feel like he's achieved everything that he needs to achieve. And when he's writing new music, he's doing it by the numbers and kind of phoning it in. I don't think there's a lot of passion in what he writes anymore. I think he's still able to put on a good show, but I don't think he has anything more to offer music based on what he's giving me. I don't know. It's probably an unpopular opinion, but
that's what I really admire about Kurt Cobain. He really went out on top. He knew when to duck out.
Yeah. Smart.
All right. It's very smart.
Mikey, hot news on the wire. 100 see an image of a Guinness drinking choir. Celebrities and cameras are headed to the scene, while presidents are fleeing to their speeding limousines. Don't worry, it's just stigmata. Pass me a napkin, and don't you dare tell my mother. Don't worry, it's just stigmata. Pass me a napkin.
I love that chorus. Something about that boo doo boo doo boo doo, and the way he sings with the guitar, the way they go back and forth with each other. It's such a funky. It's actually unlike any other chorus on the album. I think it's a very funky, catchy, and I don't mean that in a bad way. It's almost a pop song.
Yeah, and it's back to that more aggressive energy. It sort of has that tumbling guitar riff, and this, instead of some of the other imagery, mythical or religious, this is now maybe a little more political. They're from Maryland. They're really close to Washington, DC. They have a lot of, the Mob Goes Wild and things where they drill down more on politics than maybe some of the other themes that are on this album. And this has its own personality here.
Don't you dare tell my mother, don't worry, it's just stigmata. Pass me a napkin, and don't you dare tell my mother, we're gonna go where the man brings his hammer down. You stepping with the smoking Irish fly.
I know. I hate stopping it because I love how Neil comes in. The way he comes in and sings, there's something mesmerizing about his vocal. The way he does the vocal, I love how it sounds.
Yeah, it's definitely unique. I really appreciate that you can understand what the lyrics are. A lot of newer generation singers, it's all that screaming, and it's either like screechy or guttural. You don't understand what's being said, and I think it's maybe I don't know how familiar you are with Lamb of God, but it's a little more.
Again, a band I've heard of, like I know their name. Unlike Clutch, never heard their name before. Lamb of God, I'm aware of enough.
I saw them open for Pantera when Pantera was touring recently with Charlie and Zakk Wylde, and
I saw them. I saw Pantera open for Metallica, so
Oh, okay, that version.
Yeah.
Okay.
Am I seeing the right band? Pantera. Who's the lead singer's name again?
Phil Anselmo.
Yeah, I saw Pantera open for Metallica in Montreal last summer.
That had to be a good show.
And Five Finger Death Punch as well opened as well.
Okay. Thought that Lamb of God put on a fantastic show.
Oh, okay.
I felt like Pantera. It was a different version. It's the brothers aren't in the band anymore. It's not really the same. They're not giving you the same thing. They were still fun. It was great to see them. I'm a big fan of Pantera, but I felt like Lamb of God blew them off the stage.
Oh,
I really thought they put on a great show. The singer, Randy Blythe, he does a lot of that screaming thing, but he also, you can understand what he's saying. And I put a lot of value on that. I like to understand what the lyrics are, and I latch on to what that is. And Neil gives you all of that. And I mean, I don't want to say too much about Lamb of God, but the point is, I like to understand what the fuck people are saying when they're singing.
Sure.
To me. And Neil does that, thankfully.
So that's a roundabout way. Hey, I love it. I love the music discussion. We're allowed to go on. We've been pretty focused. It's okay to go on a couple of tangents.
Pantera is that too. Phil he's giving you that guttural and that like used to have like that high operatic voice that he doesn't have anymore. He's lost it. That's part of why I'm saying what I'm saying about Lamb and versus being better than Pantera on that tour. But Phil would do that too. That one of my biggest influential albums is Vulgar Display of Power by Pantera, and it's because of Phil's vocals, and you can understand everything he's saying on every song. And metal albums that don't allow me to do that, I don't like them as much.
No, that's fair. And it's funny. I'm the same way. I like hearing the vocalist. I admit, I love hard rock and heavy metal, of course, and even thrash metal. I need to hear what they're saying. Pantera has been this odd. I've had this odd relationship with him. I was born in 75, 80s rock and roll metalhead kid, teenager. I feel like they've just been this stepchild of music that I never, but when I hear a Pantera song, of course, the big hits they've had, I feel like, okay, I dig it. And then I saw them live and I kind of got it, and that might be worth investigating one day, but yeah. All right. Spleen Merchant, great title. Here we go.
When I die, you can cut me up and take all that you please. But pity the poor dumb fool who gets my bleeding spleen. Cold point upon tomorrow, my bone marrow protein field. Scotch whiskey man obtain have come to split your skills. Hey, hey, I got your head. Hey, hey, I got your running hell. Hey, hey, I got it all right here. Hey, hey.
Again, a song where I was like, okay, and I love the lyrics. The lyrics are, what's it, gory, but they're very graphic. I like the idea of the bodies being torn apart or whatever, given up for pieces and what have you. But then when he comes with the higher, it's like, I love that. It just elevates it again.
Right. It's begging the audience to participate and
You're right.
having fun with the song. Yeah.
Again, the bass playing by Dan in the background. Wow. It's just, maybe it's the headphone thing too on the computer, vice my AirPods on the phone, but hearing that bass line go in the background there. So
I was
strong.
thinking the same thing when it was kicking off. It's a little more, he'll start and then stop and let it breathe. He's not playing so much in the beginning, but it gets to that guitar solo and then the accelerator pedal goes down on the bass playing, and it's just kind of filling in all the blanks while Tim does his thing and becomes a lot more interesting, I guess, from a bass playing perspective. But it kind of switches gears. It goes into high gear there.
I've been listening to this JP's drumming. That I love that splashing cymbal. Again, one of my favorite bands was Van Halen. Alex Van Halen was big on that cymbal work. The splash, done well. It's very effective, and
right. It just like rings over the whole song. And as like it just takes it up a notch.
Now for the next song, In the Wake of the Swollen Goat, do you know what a wake is?
Is this the wake like a funeral wake or the wake of a boat?
That's right. Wake. That's my understanding. So I'm a Navy guy. So when I saw this In the Wake of the Swollen Goat, my understanding the Swollen Goat is an actual boat. It's a boat, I think. So the wake is behind the boat, I think.
Okay.
So In the Wake of the Swollen Goat. And I just love the way he sings a song. The idea that you have any song with the word swollen goat in it, like, has it ever happened before? Have we had that?
I don't know. I don't think so. I don't know how he came up with this. Maybe it's a real boat, but
Yeah.
this guitar, pay attention to this guitar tone when it comes, it's very bizarre and unique, and it just gives this song its own personality.
No horizon is obscured by the clouds. Settlements make nary a sound. And there were blackbirds singing and fish floating on the sea. While the bells of the buoys all rang in harmony. Bury your treasure, burn your crops. Blackwater rising and it ain't gonna stop.
So that black water rising ain't going to stop. He's referring to in the bilge of a ship, you have the black water. That's the dirty water. So it's rising. So it's becoming a danger to the ship. So I think that's why they're talking about the boat. The swollen goat is a boat.
I like this. I never grasped any of this, and I think you're right. But when I listen to this, I never put that together. And when you say that, it like a lot of things are dropping into place that are making this song make a lot more sense to me.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Governor, he been long gone. Ain't got dropped on his front lawn. Build and keep it.
Actually, we'll go to the 120 mark. That's the guitar solo. And I think he says swollen goat after that, I think. I love
You
it.
just cut it off where he was about to say it.
Oh,
but
was he about to say it there? Okay.
Blackwater rising and it ain't gonna stop. The governor, he been long gone. Ain't got dropped on his front lawn. Build and keep it, dig a moat. The return of the swollen goat. Can you hear?
I just love the way he said swollen goat. I just love the way.
Yeah, so I mean, it seems like it's about a flood coming, right? Or a ship sinking. They
Ship sinking,
dig
yeah.
a moat, and the black water's rising, and it seems apocalyptic. And
Yeah, definitely otherworldly and of yesteryear. This feels like it's supposed to be a long time ago. This is a ship that might be in danger. It's talking about burning, buried treasures, burning your crops, as they would do when they invade a village, they burn all the crops. This is maybe a ship that goes place to place, destroying things too. Who knows? Yeah.
Blackwater rising and it ain't gonna stop. Blackwater rising and it ain't gonna stop. With turbines, inside revelation, we seek the one thing. Why is there even straightness? Albatross on your neck and a hooker on the shore. Dog men to the deck. There's a hooker on the. In the wake of the swollen goat.
Hey, Fred Durst, welcome to the album.
Yeah.
I love that part. It's like this is all ship talk about being on the deck, the shore. This is all this is all from the viewpoint of a ship.
I just like when it pivots into that next part, that real aggressive part.
Well, it's Fred Durst. Like, I love it. He's got some David Roth. He's got some Fred Durst. Here we go. Which just shows you how much he can sing. All these different stylings of voice that he can portray.
Yep.
Oh, sorry. I want to go back one more time. I love he talked about the hooker, and he says hooker on the. And he doesn't finish the sentence, and I always thought he's supposed to say hooker on the floor or something, but he doesn't finish where the hooker is.
In the first he says it twice there, and I think the first time he says shore.
One thing, why is there even straightness? Albatross on your neck and a hooker on the shore. Dog men to the deck. There's a hooker on the. In the wake of the swollen goat.
Anyways, fantastic song, man. That's such a good song. There's nothing bad about that song.
Yeah, it's just funny how it's like certain songs you're just like, well, there's no way this is the worst song, and that's one of them.
I know. It's so yeah. For the record, we're skipping Weathermaker 47 interlude is
barely
a song. Yeah, some Spanish I think is spoken in the background. I'm not sure if you caught any of that, but interesting enough, they named their record company Weathermaker, so they named it after this track. So I don't know what their connection to that term is.
I don't know the relevance of this track. I skip it every time. I don't, and it's so short. It's like, why is it in here? But there's got to be some relevance why they would include it, but I don't know what it is.
It's after the boat song Weathermaker. I don't know. Who knows? Okay. All right. So the next song is Subtle Hustle.
Back again with the quickness. Pick it up. Master arithmetic.
Hey, did you catch that little bit of at the very because you hear the vocal sound in his voice? He goes, you hear that little bit of a. I don't know what it's described. Not a vocal coach. I can't stand vocal coach reactors on YouTube. That's just a pet peeve of mine. Anyways, but do you hear that vocal effect that he does? He goes, oomph. Did you catch it?
I don't think I did.
Okay, listen again. He's breathing through his mouth or something. But I don't know why, but I love it. It's subtle, but I love it because he's enunciating very differently. But he does a sound. Just listen for it.
Pick it up. Master arithmeticness. Light it up.
It's that very subtle. I love it.
Yeah, that's interesting that they elect to leave that in. A lot of editors might just clip it there and leave that out, but they left it in, and it has an effect on you. So the intention of that,
I like it.
It's
like when they leave a guitar part in where you can tell they might have messed up, it screeches or something like that, but they keep it in the song. Yeah, I like stuff like that.
Yeah.
I got the heat in both feet, snake handless hands, come back with slickness, and do it all again. Yeah, my subtle hustle, smooth as butter. I let it right on. My subtle hustle, smooth as butter.
So the song "Subtle Hustle" it has the term "hustle," and I guess the song sounds like the title. Like we have a hustle. To hustle is not a dance move, but the song subtly hustles. I don't know how to explain it. There's a bit of a subtle it's a dancing. So you're kind of dancing to the song, you know.
And I feel like it also has a bit of a hip hop. Like when he's saying my hustle is smooth as mother's butter, that seems like a braggadocious hip hop line that somebody like the Wu-Tang Clan would use. But they also have other songs. They have one called "Careful with This Mic" that is very rap centric,
like
hip hop centric, and then they have one called 10011. It's like a coding thing that is also more of a hip hop delivered type of song that Neil does. And I feel like this style, like particularly the verses, not so much the chorus, but this is dipping a toe into that hip hop thing that he likes to do.
Okay, I'm looking forward to hearing those hip hop type sounds. It's not really my wheelhouse, but I'm not opposed or foreign to it. It's just when done right, it's very effective. Like I liked Limp Bizkit back in the days when I hit the Fred Durst.
Well, you got to remember this is 2001 when rap rock was okay.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
All right, so here we go with I think I earmarked this. I don't remember why. I didn't write down why, but I earmarked this part. Oh, that's why. Yeah.
I let it ride on. I got your mother's maiden name tattooed on my arm.
Again, I love that. I don't know what he's talking about. I've got your mother's maiden name tattooed on my arm. What a great line.
Yeah, it just sounds like more trash talk, like I was saying.
Yeah, I guess you're right. That is trash talk. Yeah.
And I do remember that when I was saying I was all in on this album, and Bam had directed that video for Mob Goes Wild, and this song was featured in Viva La Bam for one set. I think they were like snowboarding or something. I can't remember exactly, but I do remember hearing this track in there, and that's why I was saying that went a long way in driving awareness to this album.
Okay. All right. Great song. Now, the next one, I think this is the other song you're talking about where I mentioned about the amping up, but you said, well, there's a couple songs where it kind of brings us back down a little bit with the music stylings. I believe this is probably the other one you were referring to.
Ghost,
exactly. Yeah. This is the greatest and best song in the whole world.
Yeah, yeah. Good call.
Yeah, did this come up before Tribute?
Yeah, I think. I could be wrong.
Yeah, let's just take 1 second. I meant to do this research, but when I heard it again, I was like,
oh, okay.
And what do you think of the whole?
Did Pick of Destiny come out?
Early 2000s. But what do you think of the whole fiasco regarding Tenacious D and that? Did you hear about that?
Yeah, they were in Australia and they outlived themselves. It's like Kyle was too liberal for a liberal Jack Black.
Yeah. Are you going to do a All Apologies podcast regarding that incident? Is that on your menu?
Oh, you know what? It's our next one. We recorded it already. So I was like, oh yeah, it's out already. But
I can't wait to hear that. Okay. Yeah, this actually, so Tribute did come out in 2001. So not to say that Clutch borrowed from Tenacious D, but I'm sorry, that acoustic part, it's fantastic, but it's a little bit different, of course, but it right away reminded me of Tribute when I heard it. Love that keyboard sound effect.
The leather soles go shuffling in, stinking of smoke and 10-cent gin. Now who will toast our noble host who has this morning given up the ghost?
It almost makes you wish, or maybe they do, between this and of course the Regulator, very brother and sister songs or cousin songs of each other. If they are on the same album, if this was like back-to-back songs of the first two songs on the album, you think, holy crap, we're doing an outlaw country album.
Right.
So I know they spread it apart on the album's track listing, but very brother sister sounding songs, incredible songs. Again, this is a highlight song because this to me shows mature composition, mature songwriting. It's different from the other parts of the album, which I love. It takes you out a little bit, but you're still in with the album. Like it belongs, but it also feels like, where did this come from?
Right. And there's a very strong narrative. It's telling a story, and it has a lot of imagery that it's painting that picture that we've been saying all along that Neil's so good at. So this definitely, it's getting to the end of the album. There's a lot of songs on this album is the other thing. I mean, how many songs? We're at like almost like 15 songs or something, but
right.
It's kind of a welcome break as they're wrapping up the album. And yeah, like you said, it's similar to Regulator, but they had the wherewithal to keep them far apart on the album, so you don't feel like you're listening to outlaw country too much.
That's right.
The wooden coffer, hand to hand, kind words are offered, silent prayers, but she is satisfied the most while stabbing madly at the roast. The riverbed of the eyes of Eve, the sons of Cain receive no reprieve.
I love that line. The sons of Cain receive no reprieve. What a great line.
Yeah, back to the religious imagery. Seems like it's about a funeral. It's just the bass line. It just seems like a fun bass line to play. It's kind of driving the song along with the acoustic guitar line, but I just like the somberness of it. It's just a different tone. It's a different tone than the rest of the album.
Have you heard the latest news? Lazarus is back from the dead, looking as one would expect.
I love that line. Lazarus is back from the dead, looking like one would expect. He's been dead for 3 days, guys. How do you expect him to look? I think that's great.
Yeah, I love that line too. And
oh, sorry, I just exposed a little bit of my religious background. Me and Vinny should have a discussion about our religious upbringings.
yeah, I went to Catholic school.
There you go.
I recognize all of these references.
Well, that's the advantage of being raised religious, because when you hear these songs, if someone who's not religious, what does Lazarus mean to them? Well, it's a great story in the Bible, but dude was dead for a few days, and Jesus says, I'll wake him up. Don't worry about it. Stop your crying. He says, stop your crying, ladies. I'll wake him up. Sorry, we'll stop.
He's going to look like you would expect.
Yeah, I love that. That's a great line.
Dripping with the waters of show, babbling about body and soul. And then he found his wife in their bed, buck naked and already wed.
Freaking wicked song. I love that bridge. I just love the way he sings that. It's angry. It sounds angry. It's an angry version of Neil, I think. There, it's just ba 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 ba. I just love that.
Yeah. Yep. That one is a whole story told. There's no vagueness to that one the way some of the other ones, like Spleen Merchant or maybe Swollen Goat. It's like, I don't know exactly what's happening in this song.
Hey, I told you what Swollen Goat's about. Now you know.
I know you had to tell me. But yeah, that song is just it's a standalone and in a good way to me.
Yeah, I agree. Now, folks, for the purpose of the podcast, we're going to end with it's track 14, but it's the 13th song we're reviewing, because track 15 is WYSIWYG.
I think that's what you see is what you get.
That's right. What you see is what you get.
It's
a great instrumental, but for the purposes of the show, we don't do instrumentals or interlude songs. It's just how we do it is if the band is considered to be a band where there's a singer, instrumentals don't count. Yeah. For example, we did Metallica, so they have an instrumental on their albums. We don't count that as a work, because it could be for some people an easy pick because there's no singing. So like, well, I don't like instrumental, so we just make it fair across the board. It won't compete. If it's an instrument, if it was an Isotopes album, then we could.
Yeah.
If it had a singing song, we wouldn't count that one. If that makes
honestly
sense.
Though, that last track, the instrumental track, that wouldn't be my pick anyway. It's a good song, but we're not going to feature it on the episode.
That's right. Okay, so but this last song, Notes from the Trial of La Curandera. I don't know how to pronounce that.
Yeah.
I will say this. This, I guess I'm cheating again, and I apologize, Andy. This is my favorite song on the album.
Yeah. This one is a banger. I think it's a lot of people's favorite song of the band in general.
Oh, in general. Okay.
This is their favorite Clutch song. My brother Joe said this is my favorite song.
Oh, me and Joe. Okay. Okay, Joe, I'm with you. This is my favorite. Well, put this way, I haven't heard any other album, so I've only heard this album from these guys. But when I heard this to the 2 minute, I have literally gone back to the 2 minute mark of this song and have done repeat 10 times. I'm not even joking.
That's where it turns into a different song.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So here we go. How do you pronounce it? La
Curandera.
Sure. Yeah, your Spanish is as good as mine. It looks like. Okay.
That's my problem with this song. I always forget about it because I don't know what the name is.
Did you not record
right away we actually like hard rocking. This is a great start. I give this a B. This is like a B. Like we're strong, start strong. And Neil's vocals is like, I don't think he was this high the whole album. His vocal range is like, it's
right. I mentioned earlier where you could kind of, that maybe one part of that one song where he went up to this register.
Right.
It's on full display here in the best way possible.
And would you not consider it unnatural to be born outside the womb?
Is it that wouldn't you consider it unnatural to be born outside the womb? What does that mean?
Yeah, I don't know, but I think it's a great line. Yeah,
Again, his imagery and
like
lyric writing.
test tube baby. I don't know.
Oh, maybe, yeah. Like you're born, yeah. Like you're almost like if you're the magical, mythical part of this album, yeah, you're almost like an experiment or born. Yeah, they created you outside of a mother's womb. Yeah, I like that.
La curandera is the young girl in a linen dress of white. She dances on black sand in the night in a linen dress of white.
So at first you're like, okay, this is a good rock song. Totally cool with it. I'm listening to it for the first time. This is a great rock song. I like it. It's easy right away. That it's a very hummable chorus. You're like, this is cool. This is legit. And then you get to the 2-minute mark, and like you said, something happens. You're like, I just wish I could just see my face when I first heard the change and the guitar that happens, and I'm like, OMG, this is freaking. This is rock and roll. Open up the dictionary. Turn to page rock and roll, and this is the example of what rock and roll is to me. This is why I love this genre. Hard rock, at the end of the day, is just something magical about a good hard rock song. It's just hard to beat. Oh, that drum.
Mouthful of sand, king of the briar, mouthful of sand.
But right now, where are we going with this? This is changing. I like this. The singing's changed. Mouthful of sand, like that is a miserable feeling. You get that imagery in your mind, like mouthful of sand. You're like, ugh, yeah, sand in your mouth.
Yeah.
Okay. I was raised on the beach. I'm a beach kid, like on the west coast of Canada, where I was raised. And mouthful of sand when you're a kid was very common.
Yeah.
So,
pay attention to that hi-hat work on this drum part. It keeps going, but and
that drum would have kicked in. It's the boom. That's like that. This is the fullest the drum is sound. That echoey, like thick boom sound.
Oh yeah,
right?
You mentioned it when a kid. Yeah, and even when in the headphones, especially, it's just hits you right in the chest, impactful, right, leading into this part, and then he hits that hi-hat, and it's just propelling this part into just rock and roll magic.
The skeleton lock and key, Lord of Winter, the beast and peace. Shed not a tear for humanity. Go fetch my stars. Shed not a tear for humanity. Go fetch my stars.
Before we end it here, because it's the best. Already, I'm like, this is freaking amazing. I love this part. I had no idea what was coming. If listeners are listening for the first time, they don't know what's coming. I was like, oh, this is cool. The way he's singing. He's going low again, but there's no distortion or growl, but he's just singing low and clear. Mm-hmm. And then he's talking back and forth. The guitar goes, he sings, the guitar goes, he sings. And then you hear the keyboard come in underneath of it. You're like, oh, what's going on here, folks? What are we doing?
Right. This atmospheric keyboard comes in, which goes beyond into the whole rest of the sound of the band from here. All the albums that they've produced beyond this have been very keys heavy. And it's probably a lot to do with the success and just the appeal of this song. They're like, let's like make even more like this.
So I should be excited for some things in the future here.
Yeah, totally.
All right. You're like, no, this is it. Right.
Yeah, no,
don't listen to any more Clutch. Just keep this to you. That's the only album. Hey, if this is the only album they ever released, I'd be, that's.
Listen, Ryan, based on what you're saying about the way you've received this album, it's going to be hard to go on to other albums. And it's just like, this is the bar that's been set for you. It's a hard bar to exceed, in my opinion. But there's others, like I said, there's other songs where you're gonna be like, oh, this feels like more of what I want.
That's fine. Look, every artist. That's why we do this. This is the worst of the best. So I can see why this is a highly regarded album, at least in your eyes. And I believe it. I believe it. This is a great album. Every band has that album. You could say our Metallica's Master Puppets, of course, GNR, Appetite for. There's just some albums that a band cannot top. Def Leppard's Hysteria. There's just some albums that just can't be topped, in their own catalog. They just
sucks when it's your first album, like GNR, though.
It does, but they've made a 40-year career out of it. So bless their hearts.
Good album.
There we go. I'm going to let this play out because it just speaks to my soul. It has this long outro, and I'm like, I just like, I couldn't believe it. I was like, what did I? It's funny because it has this long kind of tone for like a minute and a half, and just the song ends. But it's like, I think I needed that.
Yeah,
I heard it for the first time. Like,
you gotta catch your breath.
What just happened? I mean, that doom. When a band does this is what you've had this experience, of course. Like. When Boston made What a Feeling, like, did they know when they're doing that song? You know what I mean? Like, this is something that could just never, the band could never capture that again. Does Clutch know when they're doing this song at the end of this album? They're like, holy crap. How do they get there? When they're doing it, do they know to like, oh, we have gold here? Or like, oh, let's see what the fans think. Or did they know what I felt?
I'd like to think that they knew, and they close with that all the time. Obviously, it's a killer closer.
Or they could play this live?
Oh, yeah. I'm telling you, that's a fan favorite. And that rhythm section, the drums, the bass there, that and with the swelling of the organ. And I was telling you, like, that based on that organ presence in the song, they go on to use the organ a lot more in future albums, not to that effect. So I don't want to get your hopes up that you're going to everything that you're going to be that good. And that is, I'm telling you, that's one of their best songs ever. It's
sure. Yeah, that's fine. Every band has that song. Like, it's just the way it is. Every band has a song. That's fine. I can accept that. And like I said, I listened to their latest single out of curiosity that they released on their YouTube page, just out of curiosity, and it sounded great. It was great rock and roll. So I'm not overselling the album to myself, but this album was a religious experience for me. I love hard rock. I love rock and roll. This was a band that escaped my knowledge. I don't know how, maybe because I'm Canadian, that could play into it. I don't know if they have an audience up here in Canada, because every country actually has their own artists that just sometimes don't break the borders wherever they are, whether it's Mexico, Europe, they can bleed over a little bit, but I've never heard of these guys.
Well, I'm just so glad that you liked it as much.
I
Sounds
did.
like it as much as I do. So, but we're
Okay.
not talking about what we liked. We have to talk about what we didn't like.
Well, not necessarily we didn't like. Remember, you can still like it, but it's the worst. So
Yeah.
I'm going to let you go first, but let me set it up just one more time before you make your pick. Remember, it's your worst pick, but you have to say to yourself, you're the music producer, or the company has come to you, and you're the producer, and the company says to you, "Look, we like this album. It's great, but too many tracks." Their producer Andy, how do you like that, producer Andy? You need to eliminate one song, eliminate that song, and tell me why.
Well, like I said before, I feel like there are two tiers to this album, and there's the top undeniable tier where you just know that this is not going to be in the running for the worst song. And I think that a lot of people would maybe think the Regulator and Ghost could be on the list, but I don't think that. I wouldn't put them in that list because I like that tone shift in the album. So those need to be on there. And the one that was we talked about it, where you said at the top where Promoter was possibly, we talked ourselves out of that being an option. That was probably my second choice.
Interesting. We're on the same page so far.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow.
I have to say that the one that I picked was based on everything that I've been saying about the imagery and the narrative and the crowd participation and the riffs being like something that I will like be humming tomorrow at work. I feel like Army of Bono, that riff in the chorus just kind of like, it feels like falling down a flight of stairs. That doodle, it doesn't resonate with me.
Sure.
And the whole and the lines about like pass me a napkin and don't tell your mother. It's just not as tough as the other
Sure.
lines on the album. Like there's iconic lines from Prophets of Doom and Swollen Goat and Ghost and Regulator. Like these all have like things where just like, that fucking badass. Passing me a napkin, get the fuck out of here with that. So for those reasons, I have to pick Army of Bono as my least favorite track on the album.
I think it's just because you got that free concert. You're feeling like you got that free movie concert at U2. You got this.
Oh yeah. I'm holding it against the band U2. Holding it against Bono the guy.
All right. Wow. I not gonna lie to you, that we were on the same wavelength. I think everything we said, even you and I are both talking Promoter. I thought, I think we're gonna pick the same song. So the song that I have picked it falls into, and it's not the first time this has happened, falls into what I call the singleitis of an album. The Mob Goes Wild. This is, even though this song is new to me, I've only known it for a month, but because I've been listening to music for a long time, 40 plus years, you kind of get a feeling of what songs might tire the quickest.
Mm-hmm.
And a song like The Notes from the Trial of La Curandera, even though I fell in love with that right away, I know that's a song and a riff at the end. I will never tire. It will be impossible to tire of that riff. For some reason, songs can grab you right away, and you'll never tire of them. The Mob Goes Wild, I knew it was a single, but so my mind kind of went right away. Why is it a single? Why are they trying to grab? They're trying to grab an audience to the album. I get it. So sometimes a song like Enter Sandman does this, for example, where it's very easy to get into that song. It can get, and it did. It was their biggest selling album. It brought people in, bought the album. But it's one of the worst songs on the album. To me, I only listen to it at concerts. I will never put it in. I skip it out all the time. I'll be happy if I never hear it again. But I recognize what it did for the band, right?
Yeah.
And that's fine. I'm glad they have longevity. I'm glad they're still playing, but partly because of that song brought in millions of people. I think the Mob Goes Wild might have done this for Clutch. I don't think it represents them as well as the other songs did. I think generic in many ways compared to songs like Worm Drink and Subtle Hustle and Ghost, and it is catchy. You sing along, the Mob Goes Wild. I get it. It's fun. And I think at a show, it would be fun to listen to. No problems. I think if you're at the concert, you have fun. But I think if I had to, off the bat, I had to get rid of a song. I think the Mob Goes Wild would be one that I would probably tire of or be the least excited about the quickest.
I would agree with you. And I think you are benefiting from coming to the album without a lot of the baggage and things that I'm associating with it,
Sure.
which is being there for like a live performance of it and seeing how people react to it.
Yeah, sure.
I was talking about how it's just like this is the one where just people go nuts for it just based on the title alone and the association that I already said that it has with Bam Margera and people that are maybe like fans of his or like fans of the show, and they're bringing that fandom to that song. I agree with you. I don't know if we had to like agree on one that maybe
no,
it's
independent of each other.
I'm just saying like you could potentially convince me that you're right about
Oh, hey, we know what's happened on the show more times than not. The argument has convinced my brother, for example. He has changed his mind because of my argument. So, or vice versa. So,
yeah. I mean, honestly, if that's not one of my favorite. I would put it in that bucket I said of second tier songs.
Sure,
but I know a lot of people that love that song. But
again, at a show, I want to make this clear. I'm not talking about a live performance. I'm not talking about it being on the set list. I don't want people to get. I'm just saying studio album. If I never heard it again on the studio album, but it did at a show, I'd be very happy with that. So there you go. Okay.
And I picked Army of Bono, but it's still a good song. On an album of basically all good songs.
Yeah, well, this was hard. This wasn't easy. I like this was not easy. Well, this was also a lot of fun, and I really appreciate you taking the time out of your day. I know you've had a busy day today, Andy, and I appreciate coming on the show and taking your time, your talents, and your voice talents coming on. You might have the voice of a Muppet, you have the face of an angel. So thank you so much for coming on the show. But before you go, plug again your podcast. And am I still coming on? Are we still going to do the show?
Yeah, teaser. We're definitely going. I don't want to reveal what we're going to do, but you suggested one, and I thought it was a great idea, and we're going to hash out some time where we're going to have you on All Apologies, the All Apologies podcast. Please find everything related to the show at allapologiespodcast.com. Also, check me out. I'm on Who Are These Podcasts all the time, and DabbleCon 2 is coming to Rochester on August 16th and 17th. So if you're a fan of Who Are These Podcasts, feel free to come to attend the live event. I don't know. What else do I want to plug? I Dr. Steve's Weird Medicine. I helped Dr. Steve with his show. Yeah. So let me throw a plug out for Weird Medicine too.
No, you guys are great. It's a great universe that Carl's created. I'm sometimes in awe of the people's life. Sorry, I don't know if Carl's going to watch this whole thing, but the people's life that he has affected.
Yeah.
It sounds great. Like, have you ever thought about that? About like, you know what I mean? Like, whose lives have literally changed, or are their whole creative part of their life has been altered due to Carl's discussion of their podcast. Their whole life has changed.
But like some people, it depends on the way you handle it, right? Some people have leaned into the engagement. And did he end up reviewing Worst of the Best? Did he do that?
No, like I said,
somebody was suggesting it.
It was someone, and they were really pushing hard for it. And yeah, no, I think I'm too white bread. I think I know I'm not a perfect podcast, but I don't know how much fun you can make of it. I guess I don't know. Maybe
I wouldn't put your show up there to be made fun of. But when people get featured, if they lean into it, like Doug from Who's Right or Doug from Good Times, Great Movies, these guys become friends of the show and featured on the show, and fans of WATP end up finding those shows. Or you take the Stuttering John route where you can't handle it. You have no sense of humor about yourself, and you become a villain, a target. Your life just becomes you're now a human target because of the way
hilarious.
You handled it,
I just find it sorry. It's just fun to talk to someone behind the curtain. People are like, "What are you guys talking about?" It's a whole world, a whole universe. But again, Stuttering John, how he went about his whole life as stupid as it is or was before Carl enters poor Stuttering John's life. He's like living. It's like Stuttering John's life has changed immensely because of Carl. I didn't even know who Stuttering John was until Carl's show.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't even know who he was. So anyways, speaking of Doug from the movies podcast, he came on the Worst of the Best as well. Actually, I forgot to mention that. So he was on so he's been with me because of Carl. So Carl, thank you for your wonderful universe. Thank you everyone for watching the show. Remember, in front of every silver lining, there's a cloud. And today, for me, it was The Mob Goes Wild. And for Trucker Andy, it was Army of Bono.